Hello everyone. Welcome to the virtual class of Accounts of Underwriting Commission. In previous sessions, we have discussed calculation of net liability of the underwriters, commission payable to the underwriters, and final settlement with the underwriters. But the questions discussed by me in earlier sessions were simple. But from this session, I would like to introduce one of the most important variety of this chapter. And it is all about firm underwriting. It's a new topic for all of you. It's a very new terminology to understand about firm underwriting. So let us start with the basic understanding of the firm underwriting. What is a firm underwriting? Sometimes the underwriters agree to buy certain number of shares in addition to their underwriting obligation. The company is bound to allot these shares even when the issue is fully subscribed by the public. This is called firm underwriting. The content written on your screen is very easy for you to read. I would like to explain the firm underwriting in detail because it's one of the most important area of our chapter. Let me explain through an example. Suppose X has underwritten 1000 equity shares of ABC Limited. Now, just imagine for a moment that the public subscribed whole issue of the company and there is no responsibility liability of underwriter X to purchase any number of shares. But X would like to purchase a few shares for his own investment in the shares of the company. Now, if entire issue is subscribed by the public, net liability of the underwriter becomes zero. And if net liability becomes zero, underwriter is not liable to purchase any share or company is not able to allot any share to the underwriter if responsibility or liability of underwriter X is zero. Now, X has decided to purchase 200 equity shares from the company. So, in addition to the underwriting agreement for 1000 shares, the X has given promise and the company has also given a promise to the underwriter that X will purchase 200 equity shares or preference shares or debentures for sure from the company, and company will definitely allot 200 equity shares, preference shares or debentures to underwriter X. It means that in addition to the underwriting of 1000 numbers of equity shares, underwriter X has given firm underwriting. It is also known as a confirm underwriting, or you can say confirm to purchase for 200 numbers of equity shares. So here we have to discuss the case of firm underwriting. Firm underwriting means it is agreed upon underwriter and company that underwriter will purchase additional number of equity shares mentioned in firm underwriting. Here for your reference, I have clearly mentioned these words in the bold letter with underline. In addition to the shares. So in addition to 1000 numbers of equity shares, underwriters are liable to purchase additional 200 shares for firm underwriting even in case of zero net liability of underwriter X, the company will allot 200 shares to underwriter X because underwriter X has given confirmed liability from underwriting for additional 200 numbers of shares. Let us move to the next part of the discussion. Now, the question is, here I would like to circle the most important term, that is a question. Whether the underwriters are given the benefit or credit of firm underwriting, that is, whether their regular liability is reduced or not. If there is an understanding between the company and underwriters, then only benefit or credit of the firm underwriting is given to them. I would like to explain these things with one simple example. Say for example, the company has undertaken a public issue and underwriter X is responsible for 1000 numbers of equity shares. In addition to these 1000 numbers of equity shares, underwriter X has given firm underwriting for additional 200 numbers of shares. Now, same as public, underwriter X is also responsible to apply for these 200 numbers of equity shares because X would like to purchase these 200 shares, that is a confirm. Now, marked applications for underwriter X is received by the company for 300 shares. Now the question is, marked applications received by the company with the unique identification stamp of underwriter X is 300. In addition to this 300, definitely 200 applications made by underwriter himself, because underwriter also would like to purchase shares from the company. So if you consider these 200 applications made by underwriter X, total number of marked application will be 500. So the question is, credit of these 200 equity shares of the application. Say for example, here firm underwriting is given for 200 shares. So whether the benefit or credit of these 200 shares given to the underwriter X as a marked application or not. This is the question. And it is necessary for all of you to remember one rule. If there is an understanding between company and underwriters, and it is clearly mentioned in the question that the benefit of firm underwriting is given to the underwriters, then and then the benefit or credit of firm underwriting is given to them. Otherwise, we are not supposed to give any kind of benefit or credit to the underwriters for firm underwriting at the time of calculation of net or total liability of individual underwriters. Here you need to remember one most important rule. If it is clearly mentioned in the question, we will give credit to the underwriter for firm underwriting. Otherwise, we need not to provide any credit or benefit for firm underwriting to the individual underwriters. Now, let us move to the next part of understanding. If there is no instruction or information about this in the given question, it is assumed that benefit or credit of firm underwriting is not given to the underwriters. In the examination, examiner will provide you each and every detail in the question. It is your role to refer the question very properly. If instruction is given, we will provide benefit or credit of firm underwriting to the underwriters. If no instruction is given, we will not give any kind of benefit or credit of firm underwriting to the underwriters. At this point of discussion, I would like to inform you that underwriters are entitled to receive commission on general underwriting only. On firm underwriting, commission is not allowed to the underwriters. So at the time of calculation, please take care of these things very properly. If general underwriting is given, then it's very easy for us to calculate. But in addition to the general underwriting, information regarding firm underwriting is also given by the examiner. It is necessary for all of us to read the question very properly, because whatever the information required for the solution of the problem, that will be available to us from our question only. Now, suppose applications for firm underwriting, definitely underwriters are also applied for the firm underwriting numbers of shares to the company. Now, as discussed, there are two options. First option, credit for firm underwriting is not given to the underwriter, and second, credit for firm underwriting is given to the underwriter. In order to understand both these situations, I repeat, there are two situations with us. Situation number one, credit for firm underwriting is not given to the underwriters, and situation number two, credit for firm underwriting is given to the underwriters. This is one of the most important point of the chapter. Here we can calculate net liability or total liability of the underwriters using any of these options, subject to the informations provided by the examiner in our question. So, for the purpose of understanding these two cases, these two situations, let us take an example. Question number 6 is available on your screen. ABC Limited issued 20,000 shares of rupees 100 each. The whole issue was subscribed by two underwriters, X and Y, as follows. The X has underwritten 16,000 equity shares, while the Y is responsible for 4,000 equity shares. In addition to the above underwriting, you can read the word very properly. In addition to the above underwriting, there was firm underwriting as follows. X 2080 numbers of shares and Y 2120 numbers of equity shares. I would like to explain this particular paragraph. Here, underwriter X has given firm underwriting for 2080 shares, and Y would like to purchase 2120 confirmed shares from ABC Limited. It means that even if net liability of underwriter X and Y is zero, the company will allot 2080 shares to X and 2120 shares to Y. These underwriting for 2080 shares by X and 2120 shares by Y, known as firm underwriting, confirm underwriting. The company will allot 2080 to X and 2120 to Y. That is for sure. The total subscriptions including marked applications were for 15,000 shares. Total number of applications received by the company for 15,000 shares, out of which marked applications for underwriter X is 5,200 shares and Y 1,800 shares. If you analyze the question, rest of all other items are similar to the earlier questions. Only the paragraph or only the information regarding firm underwriting is additional for this question. Rest of all other items remain same. Now, for this question, we have to determine the liabilities of the individual underwriters. Number one, if credit for firm underwriting is not given to the underwriters. So the first situation is we don't want to give any credit of firm underwriting to the underwriters X and Y. And the second situation, if credit for firm underwriting is given to the underwriters, company would like to provide credit for the numbers of shares given in firm underwriting to the underwriters. Here we have to understand both these situations, when credit is not given and two, when credit is given to the underwriters very precisely, because our entire calculation will be based on understanding of the situations. After understanding of the question very properly, let us move to the solution of this problem. As I discussed at the time of discussion of the question, our solution is divided into two parts. The first part is when credit of firm underwriting is not given to the underwriters. Here we have to keep in mind that we don't want to provide any credit or benefit for the numbers of shares available to us in firm underwriting to the individual underwriters. So the pattern of calculation will be routine. Let us prepare a table showing calculation of net liability of underwriters. In the bracket, I have clearly mentioned for my reference as well as for your reference that we are not providing any benefit or credit for the firm underwriting to the underwriters. Let us prepare a table, particular underwriter X, underwriter Y and total. It is the case of full underwriting, so we need not to prepare any column for company. Gross liability. Gross liability means the liability of the company as per underwriting agreement. If you refer the question very properly, you can come to know that underwriter X has underwritten 16,000 numbers of equity shares, while underwriter Y is responsible to purchase 4,000 equity shares. So 16,000 plus 4,000 is equal to 20,000. Less marked application. As I said, we don't want to give any credit to underwriter for firm underwriting marked applications as per the informations given to us in our question. 5,200 and 1,800 for X and Y respectively. So remaining liabilities 10,800 for X and for Y 2,200. Total 13,000. Now, distribution of unmarked applications in the ratio of 4 is to 1. Check your question. In your question, it is clearly mentioned that total number of applications received by the company for 15,000 numbers of equity shares. Out of these 15,000 numbers of equity shares, 7,000 shares are marked with the unique identification stamp of underwriter X and Y altogether. So total number of unmarked applications are 8,000. These unmarked applications are distributed among underwriter X and Y in the ratio of their gross liability. And the ratio of their gross liability is 4 is to 1. Very simple. 16,000 is to 4,000. So underwriting ratio is 4 is to 1. 8,000 unmarked applications are distributed to X and Y in the ratio of 4 is to 1. So 6,400 applications are transferred to X and 1,600 applications are transferred to underwriter Y. Net liability of underwriter X 4,400 and Y 600. Total 5,000. When no credit is given to the underwriter for firm underwriting, our calculation remains same as we have completed calculation in earlier questions. So there is no difference. But as I said in the beginning of this session, here the case is of firm underwriting, and in addition to the general underwriting, underwriter X and underwriter Y have taken firm, that is a confirmed responsibility for a few numbers of shares. That is known as a firm underwriting. Numbers of shares as per firm underwriting are required to purchase by underwriter X and Y, and these number of shares are also allotted by the company to the concerned underwriters. So in this net liability we need to add firm underwriting. Confirm underwriting by X for 2,080 numbers of shares and 2,120 number of shares by underwriter Y. So in total, firm underwriting for both the underwriters are for 4,200 numbers of shares. So total liability X 6,480 number of shares and 2,720 numbers of shares. So total numbers of shares to be purchased by underwriter X and Y in all are 9,200. Now at this point of discussion, it is necessary for all of you to understand that in any case, say for example, in any case this net liability is 0 and this net liability is also 0 for X and Y. It means total number of shares subscribed by the public, then also underwriter X will get 2,080 shares from the company and underwriter Y will also get 2,120 shares from the company. So in order to maintain the interest of the individual underwriters in the shares of the company, in addition to the general underwriting, that is 16,000 and 4,000, they are entering into additional underwriting, which is known as firm underwriting. I repeat, on firm underwriting, the underwriters are not entitled to receive the underwriting commission. Underwriting commission will be calculated on gross liability, that is on general underwriting only. Commission on firm underwriting is not applicable. It is also necessary for all of you to remember this rule, because this will lead to you for full marks in final examination. After understanding calculation of total liability, when credit for firm underwriting is not given to the underwriters, let us move to the second option or second situation. When credit of firm underwriting is given to the underwriters, it means that the company and underwriters are agreed upon to provide benefit or credit for firm underwriting to the individual underwriters. These words not given and given will make a lot of difference in your calculation. So always try to understand both these words very properly before starting your solution. Let us start our solution. Before starting the calculation of net liability, we have to calculate total marked applications, as credit for firm underwriting is given to the underwriters. For this purpose, we will prepare a structured table. First column, underwriter. Second column, marked applications received from the public. Third column, application for firm underwriting. Obviously, this application is made by underwriters only, and as we have decided in second situation that we would like to provide credit or benefit of firm underwriting to the individual underwriters, we have to give them benefit of their own firm underwriting. And last column, total marked applications. Underwriter X, marked applications received from the public with the unique identification stamp of underwriter X is 5,200. Obviously, applications made by underwriter X for his firm underwriting 2080. So total number of marked applications in case of X, 7,280. In earlier case, when we have not given credit to X, at that time we have considered 5,200 as a marked application. But in this situation, situation number 2, we have decided to provide credit of firm underwriting to the underwriter. So benefit of this 2080 is given to X. In this situation, total number of marked applications for underwriter X, 7,280. For underwriter Y, marked applications are 1,800, and as per firm underwriting of Y with the company, the Y is responsible to purchase 2,120 numbers of shares. So, if you provide credit or benefit of firm underwriting to Y, then total number of marked applications for underwriter Y became 3,920. This is the biggest difference when credit is not given and credit is given. When credit is not given, marked application means marked applications received from the public. And when credit for firm underwriting is given to the underwriters, total marked applications means marked applications received from the public plus numbers of shares as per firm underwriting. So, total marked applications received by the company with firm underwriting as well as from the public. Let us prepare a table showing calculation of net liability of underwriters. When credit for firm underwriting is given, here the word is replaced. Earlier it was not given. Now it is given. Particular, underwriter X, Y and total. Gross liability. Same as given in the question. You can check your question. It is clearly mentioned. Gross liability of the underwriter X 16,000 and underwriter Y 4,000 equity shares. So there is no change. 16,000 plus 4,000 equals to 20,000. Less. Now there is a change. Less total marked applications. Into bracket, I have written for your reference including firm underwriting. Just check it. Why? Here we have considered total marked application because credit for firm underwriting is given to the underwriters. So this word makes a lot of difference. Earlier we have considered marked applications. Now we are considering total marked applications including firm underwriting. We have completed just before a few minutes total marked applications for underwriter X 7,280 and Y 3,920, total 11,200. This is only the point of difference. Rest of all other calculation remains same from first to last. When credit is not given, we have to consider only marked application. When credit is given, we have to consider total marked applications including firm underwriting. So this particular calculation makes difference. Remaining liabilities 8,720 and for Y 80. Now let us deduct unmarked applications. Here there is a change in the calculation from our end. Earlier we have considered total number of marked applications that was given in our question. Total applications received by the company 15,000 and total marked applications over here 11,200 because as per the condition we are providing credit to the firm underwriters. So unmarked applications are only 3,800. This word not given and given will make a lot changes in your calculation. So entire calculation will be dependent on the words used by the examiner. So always read your question very properly before starting your solution. Total number of unmarked applications are 3,800. These 3,800 are required to distribute among X and Y in the ratio of their gross liability. And the ratio of gross liability is 4:1. So 3,800 distributed as 3,040 to X and 760 to underwriter Y. Remaining liabilities, underwriter X 5,680 and underwriter Y 680. But this 680 is a negative. It means in the account of underwriter Y there is a surplus of 680. This surplus of 680 transferred to underwriter X that we are doing in many questions. So surplus of Y transferred to X minus 680 and plus 680. So net liability of underwriter X 5,000 and underwriter Y 0. So this is all about calculation of net liability. But in addition to the general underwriting, underwriter X and Y entered into firm underwriting with the underwriters. It means that the company will allot additional shares to the underwriters. So again we have to add numbers of shares as per firm underwriting at the end of our calculation. Firm underwriting for X 2080 and Y 2120. So general liability of Y is 0. Then also Y is responsible to purchase 2120 shares as per his firm underwriting. So total liability of X 7080 and 2120. So in this way, at the time of solution of the problem, it is necessary for all of us to understand the situation, whether we have to provide credit for firm underwriting or not. So this is all about calculation of net liability of underwriters when credit for firm underwriting is given. Now, for the purpose of your easy understanding, I have prepared this answer in a comparative format, so as you can easily compare the solution of the problem in both the situation. The first situation is when credit for firm underwriting is not given, and second situation is when credit for firm underwriting is given. Simply you can analyze the solution. Gross liability 16,000, 4,000 and 20,000. 16,000, 4,000 and 20,000. Gross liability remains same in both the cases. Less marked applications. When credit for firm underwriting is not given, we have to deduct only marked applications. But when credit for firm underwriting is given to the underwriters, we have to deduct total marked applications including firm underwriting. You can easily understand and analyze the words used over here. So this is the first place where you will find the difference when credit is given or credit is not given. Remaining liabilities, that is simply gross liability minus marked applications. Then we have to deduct unmarked applications in the proportion of gross liability. Here marked applications are 7,000. So we have deduct marked applications as 7,000 over here. So unmarked applications were 8,000 when credit is not given. But when credit is given, total marked applications are 11,200 and it affects to the calculation of unmarked applications. It is simply mathematics. If you put all the figures in the table very properly, you can get 100% perfect answer. Then we have completed calculation of remaining liabilities. When credit is not given, net liability of underwriter X 4,400 and underwriter Y 600. Total net liability 5,000. When credit is given, net liability of underwriter X is 5,000. There is no net liability of underwriter Y because Y has received extra benefit for his firm underwriting. So his net liability becomes 0. We have to add firm underwriting at the end in both the situation, and at the end of the solution we can calculate total liabilities. It means that the underwriters are required to purchase number of shares according to total liability mentioned over here. So in this way you can prepare your answer using both these situations provided by the examiner to us. I hope everyone is clear with the calculation and comparison mentioned over here. Keep watching the next session. Thank you. God bless you.